Civil rights. What are they, and why should you care? By dictionary definition, civil rights are rights given to people politically and socially. The job of civil rights is to grant equality. Equality is wanted by all. Let's take the U.S. for say. The history of the U.S. has had many struggles with civil rights. If we go back to the African American past, the U.S. had slavery, and women were not allowed to vote, and other minority groups were discriminated against. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a minority group. Are women a minority? Nope. 51% of the population of this world. We are the majority. But back on topic. The point is, civil rights have been violated, and some say that they are still being violated right now as I speak to you. Let's take 3 different places, polar opposites, in the US. First, let's talk about Glens Falls, and then New York City, and finally, some random place in Alabama. With these places, we're going to talk about civil rights, and if they are being violated or successfully upheld. Let's talk about Glens Falls. Glens Falls' population is predominantly white. There may be a few people of color or race, but you're really only going to see white people here. And because of that, many people in Glens Falls believe that civil rights are not being violated, and if they do, they have never firsthand experienced it visually. That makes it very hard for them to understand how serious of a problem or how not serious of a problem civil rights are and can be. Let's talk about New York City now. New York City is, if not the most culturally diverse place in the world. In New York City, there are 5 different boroughs, and each borough has a reputation of a different ethnicity. Let's talk about the Bronx. When people hear the Bronx, the stereotype is African American. That's who lives there. And if you talk about Staten Island per se, Italians, that's who lives there. Every neighborhood in each of these places may also be diverse. Let's talk about Queens, a place called Kew Gardens. In Kew Gardens, the main majority of population is Jewish. And the same thing goes for many other neighborhoods in any borough of New York City. New York City is a place that people always try to go to because it offers much opportunity for people who go there. Jobs and all these things. Now, with that, you face much discrimination because some people may be racist towards a group. Let's say a white person is racist towards an African American. That may happen. And it may happen more likely in New York City only for the fact that there are larger numbers of African American people. The same thing can go for Jewish people, Irish people, German, Polish, Italian, any type of person. Now, you are going to see a series of interviews that took place in New York City firsthand of what people believe about civil rights, how they feel about them being upheld, or if they're not. I asked every single person if I could film them. Some denied, about half did. And with that, I had to explain to some of these people. One girl, which you will not see because she requested to not be filmed, had to be explained information about civil rights for 5 minutes. And even after that, she still did not understand what civil rights were. People need to be educated about civil rights. But that's not the main problem here. Right now, we're going to see what people think about civil rights in New York City. I'm in New York City in one of the most cultural, diverse places in the world. I'm going to ask unknown people about their thoughts on civil rights and if they think that this country is doing a good job at giving them to people of different race and gender. Let's see what happens and what they think.
Oh goodness. Hey, how's it going? The question asked was whether civil rights in America, what's the standing? To me, civil rights in America, I think, has progressed. anyone has taken a history class, you know that after the Emancipation Proclamation from Abraham Lincoln, slaves were freed, and at a point in time in the South, they were able to become senators and local chairmen and things like that. So at a point in time, they did feel a certain type of political power. But once the federal government left the South, once the end of Reconstruction happened, blacks kind of lost that power because they were bullied and pushed out of political seating. They were, stoned and abused when they went to like voting booths, and that's where all the laws came in, like segregation. And if you're a black, you can't like marry any white person. Things like that happened in the South. So it was a loss of federal protection. Nowadays, we kind of feel like the federal government isn't aiding us. And when I say us, I do mean black people, but I mean black people specifically because when we talk about the minority in America, it's mostly looked at as black people. There were other slaves. Jewish people were slaves. Some white people from like Roman days and Greece days were slaves. So black people weren't the only slaves. But when we talk about America, that black population is the big topic. So as far as civil rights in America, I think it's progressed, but we have to protect it. Otherwise, what happened in the South during Reconstruction will happen to all of America. So if we don't watch our senators and Congress and things like that, we're gonna be forced to adhere to a lot of rules that we don't like. And I think a big solution to that is just people being active and being involved in politics.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Here we go. Your thoughts on civil rights and if they're successful or not.
I honestly don't think they're very successful right now. Don't think we have the equality we should with nationalities, ethnicities, or any of that, or sex. I don't think, but I think we're on our way there. I think this generation is definitely working on it. We have a bit more knowledge of that, and I think we're working on it. So I think we're on our way, but I wouldn't say we're at our best right now. Definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely.
And do you have any thoughts?
Practically the same.
Okay.
We're really not quite there with the civil rights. Not everything is, equal. Not everybody has the same thoughts about civil rights, but I definitely think we are getting there.
Okay. And have you ever seen anything that would give you these thoughts? Anything?
Oh, everyday stuff.
Like what?
Like there's so many things on a daily basis, honestly.
Just anything. It could be little things, anything.
Oh, great. At work, I'm a manager, and I realize anytime I say something, it's taken as I'm rude, I'm disrespectful, I'm harsh, but if a male says it, everybody just, no problem, we'll do that.
So discrimination with civil rights against women.
Yeah, definitely.
So you believe that also has a very long way to go?
Oh, yeah.
All right. And have you ever seen anything?
I have, but I can't really think of it right now.
But it's definitely abundant.
Yeah, definitely. There's several different, problems because of ethnicity and racism, and but I think you see that every day. It's something common. New York and the United States.
Okay.
I definitely do believe that they are definitely enforcing civil rights very fairly in this country, but I don't agree with everything that they enforce because I think that this world has become too lenient and too free for everybody to just be able to be free and equal and just do whatever they want and say and feel and picket for whatever they want. And to some extent, it's good to have freedom in America, but I also feel there should be those guidelines, and so in some respects I don't agree with them being so free to have everybody equal, because I feel like the morals have gone down, and I feel that that's just my opinion. I'm very religious, and I just feel there should be more guidelines. That's it. Okay, so my thought on civil rights, I definitely do believe that we need it, and very happy for the equal rights that we should have in America, but I think that America's become too lenient with everything that they allow. And an example is that whole thing where they were picketing with on Staten Island, the guy that got choked, and people were doing riots and walking around that I can't breathe, and walking around with signs, and I just think people took it too far. And I feel like some people are very ignorant, and they don't realize that there's two sides to the story, and that man was not a good man, always getting into trouble. And if he would have just given up his rights and let the police take him to jail, or even to be questioned, it wouldn't have happened. But it had to go to the point where he wouldn't surrender, and they had to take him down, and unfortunately that's what happened. It's unfortunate what happened to him, but I think because we're too lenient in this country, it had to get to the point where 2 cops got killed because people were crazy and they take it too far. And so, to an extent, I feel like, the whole civil rights, being free to say whatever and do what you want is just gone down the tubes. And I feel partly also religious-wise that, I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that's been going on with the government, but that's just my opinion.
So what are your views on civil rights, and how do you think this country is doing concerning them?
Well, I feel in this time of our world and our time of where we are, civil rights are unfair. They're for people that had things that don't have things now. I just feel that it's just totally not going the way that America should be running, and which is like the minority of black people are first, and white people are last, and now it's turning into Mexican people now that they get every free right to do whatever. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to work. They don't have to do a darn thing, and they get everything handed to them. Whereas if my rights as a white person, I worked for everything I did, and when someone as a white person loses everything and then tries to get what they have for their rights, they can't get it because of their color. And I think that's a shame, and I think that's America is going down because of that. And that's how I feel, and this world we have to do something. I said, because God is number one. He made this world. He made this country. God bless America. That's what we stand for. Now we don't pick and choose who we want as being Pharaoh because you're black, or I'm not black because I'm white. And it's just totally wrong, and it's going in the wrong direction. And as an American citizen, we should change that. And these are my rights, as I feel, as a white person. And we're all made equal. Don't get me wrong. We are all made equal in the eyes of God. But where this is going is the wrong direction. It's pulling out white people and making them now not middle class, but no class at all. So it has to stop and end. And hopefully the government and the rights of America will change.
Thank you.
Just what my views are on civil rights?
Yeah, like the standings currently, are they being successfully given?
Well, everything in the news right now is so that it's not living up to our expectations of what the civil rights are meant to be. And as a woman, talk about women's civil rights are not where they should be, and equality. And racial civil rights and religious civil rights right now all over the world are being put down. So, yeah, I guess we're not where we're always striving to be better with the civil rights, but just still not there. So there are good parts, and we still see bad parts all over the world.
Have you ever witnessed any violation towards anybody, women, races, anything?
I have to say, luckily, I really haven't. living on Long Island. I have not. Right? Have you seen civil rights being? I don't think so. Not. It's really more the news. I had nothing firsthand witness. How's
Okay.
that?
Well, thank you very much. So if you could just tell me your thoughts on civil rights and if you feel they're being violated for anybody in this country and how successful this country is being at giving them.
That's a big question because see, I am a first generation immigrant. I came here in the 90s, and interestingly, I went to Bloomington, Indiana, which is very close to Martinsville. Do you know about Martinsville? It is the headquarter of KKK. So we had a couple of interesting experience while passing through Martinsville, and still, like even day before or couple of days back, we heard about lynching, right? And so it is doing a great job. Like definitely, this is a melting point, and I never felt that way. But occasionally, when after 9/11, I was coming back from Bloomington to Schenectady actually, I had a very bad experience because some of the white policemen, like middle of the night, like they just picked me and kind of said, show me your identity. And I was not carrying my passport at that time because I was coming to school. So later on, like I got scared, like, and there were 6 or 7 white folks, and they, for some reason, picked me. And then when I said, showed my faculty card to them, then they said okay, but they almost kind of threatened me that you should carry your passport and stuff, otherwise we can take you to the jail any moment because you were supposed. I said yeah, I know, but I didn't realize it. And after that I kind of got a little bit scared that time, but otherwise I never felt anyway. And especially in the New York City, I don't feel, most probably because I don't visit the places where are high prones of like those kind of incidents are taking place. Like if you go to Bronx or Queens maybe, but since I live in the city, mostly in Battery Park and here, so I never felt anymore. Not in the workplace, definitely not. And even about women and men, I never felt any difference. But yeah, in pockets of the country, definitely. It's still there and still happens. And it's sad, but I think we have made a big leap also going forward, I think. And it's happening everywhere. I wouldn't say it's civil rights, it's kind of like the society we are in right now, especially with all the issues or globalization. Every country is facing some sort of discrimination. That's what I can tell you. Anything else you need to know?
I think that's very good. Thank you.
I'm going to talk about 2 interviews specifically. One of them was the first generation woman from India, and the second one is going to be the middle-aged white woman that was probably 40 to 50. Let's start with the middle-aged white woman. The middle-aged white woman believed that civil rights were a problem, but the only reason she knew that was because of the news. Any source that she had was because of the news. As you all know, hopefully, the news can be tampered with in many different ways. It can be biased, it can even be lies. And people like her are getting the news. And with that news, they're getting all of the information that they believe on many different issues, such as civil rights. Education in this country is supposed to be amazing. But when you have people middle-aged and even teenagers, like the girl that I tried to explain civil rights to, it means we have a serious problem. People either don't care enough about civil rights, or it just doesn't matter to them, or there's just not enough word out there for it. So spread the word about civil rights. Let people know civil rights are a problem, and let them try to see it firsthand. Because when you see something as god-awful as somebody's civil rights being violated in sometimes the most awful, disgusting, disgraceful way, It makes you have a change of heart. It makes you realize how much of a problem it actually is. It makes you want to change the world. It makes you want everybody to be equal. The final interview I'm going to talk about was the first generation Indian woman's, and her name was Sumi. As you heard in Sumi's story, she first moved to this country and had to deal with problems concerning the KKK, and then after 9/11, discrimination problems. The fact that the KKK even existed at that time is a disgrace. The KKK should have been eradicated 100 years ago. It should have never even existed, but it did. And most people believe the KKK discriminates against African Americans. But it's clear now with Sumi's views and life experiences that they discriminate against anybody that is not white and Christian or Catholic. Okay, now continuing with Sumi. In 9/11, she told us how she faced extreme discrimination problems afterwards. Massive discrimination problems. People thought that Sumi was a terrorist, and she wasn't even Muslim. She wasn't even from the Middle East. She was from India, a country that had nothing to do with 9/11. People violated her civil rights multiple times after that. People probably still today look at her and go, terrorist, Muslim, Middle East, stay away. Sumi is a wonderful person. And the point is, she is a person, like every single one of us. So what? Her skin tone is a little darker and she's from a different place. She's still a person. Her stories need to be publicized and shown all over the world. That civil rights are still a problem and we need to be equal, and civil rights need to be fixed for all. Finally, we're going to talk about the third place, Alabama. If you were to go to Alabama, you would most likely find that there is an extreme lack of civil rights towards African Americans or other religious groups that are not Christian or Catholic. I have had first-hand experience in visually seeing civil rights being violated in the South. It's not a very pleasant thing to watch, and it's kind of disgusting. In fact, it is disgusting to watch. And the fact that civil rights are still a problem today is something that shouldn't even be existent. This country is over 200 years old. This is a 21st century. These problems should not even be talked about. Civil rights should be something that is glorified. Truly the land of the free. We're all supposed to be equal. In the case of Michael Brown, he was a young African-American teen. He was shot by a white cop. This caused outrage. People accused him of being racist and said, "You killed this boy because you hate blacks." That is a major violation of civil rights. A few other cases similar to that had happened. This led people to march in the streets, saying that this country needs better civil rights. What happened was awful in that case. But what people fail to realize is that African Americans and women are not just the only people being discriminated against. Some people believe that whites are being discriminated against in the sense that minority groups are getting everything. And because of the history with slavery as an example that whites put African Americans through, whites deserve nothing and African Americans deserve all these privileges, which I totally understand is trying to repay them. But this is the 21st century. By showing these different groups favoritism, we are doing nothing but evoking problems with civil rights now. Some places are treating African Americans better than whites, when in reality, we need to treat everybody equal. We are all human beings. We all live, we all breathe, we all eat, sleep, drink, we love, we care, we cry. We all have the same emotions. We are all the same type of people. So that is why we all deserve the same civil rights. We all deserve to be equal politically and socially. Now, when you hear people talking about civil rights, normally they think African American civil rights being violated, or women. Those are the main two. But with that, we forget about other minority groups, or in women's case, majority groups, that are sometimes being violated. People say that we learn from our history, but people will only take what they want from history. This is the 21st century. Civil rights movement happened in the 60s. This is 50 years later. People have taken what they're going to take from history. Some people think that history has nothing to them. The United States has had a great history with civil rights. Martin Luther King Jr. preached about civil rights. Malcolm X did the same. Rosa Parks, probably the most famous female icon in the civil rights movement for African Americans. She refused to move from the back to the back of the bus from the front. So once again, my general point is, people have taken what they're going to take from history at this point. The past is in the past. That may seem like a very stupid thing to say, or a very teenager thing to say, but it's not. The past is in the past, and we're not going to take anything else from it. It's pretty clear. We need to prevent history from repeating itself. We need to make people equal once and for all in every single way. So I'm going to make a bold statement here. The people of this country must focus on the now. Yes, I could go on and talk about history for hours, days, years, perhaps. But what good would that do? People take history class. People learn about history. People hear about it every day. We need to focus on what's happening now, like the Michael Brown case. Those are the things we need to learn from. Those are the things that are going to help make this country equal. We need to live in the now. We need to fix civil rights in this country. We need to make everybody equal in the eyes of anyone and everything. This is the 21st century. Let's make it the true golden age. Civil rights for all.